They didn't send you a letter. They didn't make an announcement. But starting in 2026, the Social Security Administration is rolling out rule changes that could quietly slash or completely eliminate the monthly check millions of seniors depend on to survive. Right now, thousands of retirees are already being flagged under new compliance reviews they don't even know are happening. If you're collecting Social Security benefits, or you have a parent, grandparent, or loved one who is worried, what you're about to hear in the next few minutes could literally change everything. We're talking about changes to income thresholds, benefit recalculations, and eligibility reviews that the mainstream media is barely covering. The SSA isn't advertising this loudly, and that's exactly the problem. Most seniors won't find out until the damage is already done, when they open their bank account and the deposit just isn't there. But here's the good news. If you know what's coming, you can protect yourself right now. There are specific steps you can take today to make sure your benefits are secure, your records are accurate, and you're not blindsided by a reduction you never saw coming. Whether you're 62, 72, or 82, this affects you. Whether you're on retirement benefits, SSDI, or SSI, this affects you. We're breaking down every change, every deadline, and every protection available to you, starting right now. If this matters to you or someone you love, smash that like button so more seniors can see this before it's too late. Let's get started. Let's start with something that most people in Washington don't want you to think too hard about. Social Security has been the backbone of retirement security in America for nearly a century. For tens of millions of seniors, it's not just a benefit. It's the difference between having food on the table and going without. It's the reason they can keep the lights on, afford their medications, and sleep without the constant terror of financial ruin. And yet, right now in 2026, that very foundation is shifting. The SSA has been quietly rolling out a series of rule changes that, if you're not paying close attention, could blindside you in the worst possible way. Now, before we dive into the specifics, I want you to understand something important. This isn't about politics. This isn't about one party or one administration. This is about bureaucratic policy, administrative rule changes, and compliance reviews that affect real people, your parents, your grandparents, your neighbors, and perhaps you yourself. These changes are real, they are happening right now, and most people have absolutely no idea they're coming. So let's change that today. The first thing you need to understand is how these rule changes actually happen. Most people assume that anything affecting Social Security has to go through Congress, that there would be a big vote, a debate on the Senate floor, maybe even some news coverage. But here's the thing most Americans don't realize. The Social Security Administration has the authority to implement a significant number of administrative and procedural changes entirely on its own. No congressional vote required. No public referendum. They publish notices, update internal policy manuals, and adjust how eligibility is reviewed. And most of that happens quietly, without any fanfare whatsoever. So, what exactly has changed as of 2026? Let's walk through this carefully, because each piece matters. The first major shift involves income reporting requirements. For years, seniors collecting Social Security income, particularly those on Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, have had relatively straightforward reporting obligations. But the SSA has now tightened the window and the threshold for what counts as reportable income. This means that money that previously didn't trigger a review, small amounts of income from part-time work, gifts from family members, occasional income from side activities, may now need to be reported. And if it isn't reported correctly or on time, the SSA can reduce or suspend your benefits. Not eventually. Quickly. This is especially alarming for SSI recipients because SSI has always been the safety net beneath the safety net. It's designed for people who are elderly, blind, or disabled and have very limited income and resources. These are people who cannot afford to lose a single dollar. And yet, under the new reporting rules, even minor discrepancies, things that could easily result from confusion, lack of information, or an honest mistake, can trigger a formal overpayment notice. And an overpayment notice from the SSA is not something you want to ignore. We'll come back to why in just a moment. The second major change involves the overpayment clawback rules themselves. This is the one that has advocacy groups across the country sounding the loudest alarm. In the past, if the SSA determined that you had been overpaid, meaning they sent you more money than you were technically entitled to, they would typically recover that overpayment gradually. They'd withhold a portion of your monthly benefit, maybe 10%, until the balance was settled. It was painful but manageable. You could still survive on the reduced payment while paying back what was owed. Under the 2026 policy revision, the SSA has reinstated its authority to recover the full overpayment amount immediately. In some cases, by withholding your entire monthly check until the debt is cleared. Read that again. Your entire check. Gone. Until the balance is paid. Now, the SSA does have a waiver process, and you can request a reduced withholding rate if you can demonstrate financial hardship. But here's the catch. You have to know to request it. You have to do it within a specific time frame, and you have to navigate a bureaucratic process that is anything but simple or user-friendly. For seniors who are already managing health conditions, cognitive challenges, or simply lack the resources to get proper guidance, this is a nightmare scenario. The third area of change is what the SSA calls Continuing Disability Reviews, or CDRs. These are periodic reviews conducted to verify that people receiving Social Security Disability Insurance, SSDI, still meet the eligibility requirements for their disability. The SSA has always had the authority to conduct these reviews. But historically, staffing shortages and backlogs meant that many reviews were delayed for years. The agency has now ramped up its CDR process significantly, meaning that millions of SSDI recipients who haven't had a review in years may suddenly receive notice that their case is being re-examined. This doesn't automatically mean your benefits will be cut, but it does mean that if you have had any improvement in your condition, any change in your medical treatment, or any gap in your medical documentation, you could be found ineligible, and the burden is on you. Noinati and Sonin. These, yay, trar waisobei Christ wax. To prove that you still qualify. If you can't provide current, thorough medical records, the outcome can be devastating. The appeals process exists, but it can take months or even years, and during that time, benefits may be suspended. For someone who relies on SSDI to pay rent and buy groceries, months without a check can mean losing housing, skipping medications, or falling into a financial hole that is nearly impossible to climb out of. Now, here's something important that we need to address. The question of what you can actually do about all of this. Because knowing the problem without knowing the solution leaves you feeling helpless, and that's the last thing I want. So, let's talk about concrete steps you can take right now to protect yourself or your loved ones. The first and most important thing you can do is create or log into your My Social Security account online at ssa.gov. This is your personal portal to your Social Security records, and it is absolutely critical that you check it regularly. Inside your account, you can see your earnings history, verify your benefit amount, update your contact information, and check for any notices or alerts the SSA may have sent. A lot of seniors don't know that the SSA may have been sending notices to old addresses, or worse. to email addresses that were never set up. If you're not receiving communications from the SSA, you might miss a deadline that results in a benefit suspension you can't reverse. Log in today. Make sure your contact information is current. This one step alone could protect you from a world of hurt. The second thing you need to do is review your most recent benefit verification letter and understand exactly what type of benefit you're receiving and under what terms. Social Security isn't one size fits all. Retirement benefits, survivor benefits, SSDI, and SSI all have different rules, different review schedules, and different reporting requirements. If you're not sure which category you fall into, call the SSA directly at 1-800-772-1213. Yes, hold times can be long. Yes, it can be frustrating. But the information you get from that call could literally save your benefits. Write down the name of the representative you spoke with, the date, and what they told you. That documentation matters. Third, if you are on SSI specifically, you need to be extraordinarily careful about income and resource reporting going forward. Under the new rules, the reporting window is tighter and the consequences for errors are more severe. If you receive any money from family members, even informal help with bills, you should speak with a benefits counselor to understand whether that needs to be reported and how. Many states have free benefits counseling services through programs called SHIP, State Health Insurance Assistance Programs, or through local area agencies on aging. These services are free, confidential, and they exist specifically to help people navigate exactly this kind of complexity. Fourth, if you are on SSDI and you receive a continuing disability review notice, do not ignore it. I cannot stress this strongly enough. The SSA gives you a specific window to respond, usually 10 to 30 days depending on the type of notice. If you miss that window, your benefits can be suspended automatically, before anyone even reviews your case on the merits. If you receive a CDR notice, gather every piece of medical documentation you have, contact your doctors immediately and request current records, and consider reaching out to a disability rights organization or legal aid clinic for guidance. Many of these organizations provide free assistance to SSDI recipients facing reviews. Fifth, and this applies especially to family members who have elderly parents or relatives collecting Social Security, please have a conversation with them about this. Many seniors, particularly those who are older or dealing with cognitive decline, may not fully understand what an official-looking letter from the SSA means or what action it requires. They may set it aside thinking it's junk mail or feel embarrassed to ask for help. Check in. Ask them if they've received any correspondence from Social Security recently. Offer to sit with them and go through their My Social Security account. This small act of involvement could mean the difference between them keeping their benefits and losing them due to an entirely preventable oversight. Now, let's also address something that tends to get people riled up, and rightfully so, which is the question of fairness. The SSA's overpayment policies have been criticized by senators, advocacy groups, watchdogs, and ordinary Americans for years. The idea that a senior on a fixed income could suddenly see their entire check withheld because of an error that was, in many cases, the SSA's own administrative mistake, that's not a fringe concern. That's a legitimate documented problem that has been studied and reported extensively. Congressional hearings have been held. The SSA has acknowledged issues with its own overpayment notification process, and yet the policy pendulum has swung back toward aggressive recovery, leaving millions of vulnerable people exposed. If you believe this is wrong, and many Americans across the political spectrum do, there are legitimate avenues for making your voice heard. You can contact your congressional representatives directly. You can write to them, call their offices, or show up at their constituent meetings. Your representatives work for you, and Social Security issues are among the most common concerns their offices handle. Organizations like the National Committee to Preserve Social Security and Medicare, AARP, and various disability rights coalitions are actively advocating on these issues. Supporting them, sharing their resources, and amplifying their voices matters. I also want to take a moment to address some of the misinformation floating around about Social Security. You may have seen headlines or social media posts claiming that Social Security is about to go bankrupt or that benefits are being eliminated entirely. That is not accurate. Social Security faces long-term funding challenges that will need to be addressed by Congress, and that is a real policy conversation worth having. But it is not about to disappear overnight. What is real, and what we've been talking about today, are administrative changes to how benefits are reviewed, calculated, and recovered. Those changes are significant enough on their own without adding false panic to the mix. Stay informed, but stay grounded in facts. As we wrap up today, I want you to walk away with one overarching message. Awareness is protection. The seniors who get hurt by these rule changes are almost always the ones who didn't know the rules had changed. They didn't check their accounts. They didn't open their mail. They didn't respond to a notice in time. The good news, and there is genuinely good news here, is that every single one of those situations is preventable with a small amount of attention and action. You have the tools. You have the resources. And now, you have the information. Check your My Social Security account today. Make sure your contact information is current. If you're on SSDI, understand your review schedule. If you're on SSI, know your income reporting obligations. And if you get a letter from the SSA, any letter for any reason, take it seriously, read it carefully, and respond before the deadline. The people who do these things will be protected. The people who don't are the ones who end up in the horror stories. We will continue to keep a close eye on these developments and bring you updates as they happen. If this video helped you or someone you care about, please share it with your family and friends. Post it in the groups you're part of. Send it to your parents. This kind of information spreads best person to person, and every person who sees it is one more person who can protect themselves. Subscribe to this channel so you never miss an update. Drop your questions in the comments below, and remember, the best defense against a system that doesn't always make things easy is knowing how that system works. Stay informed. Stay protected. We'll see you in the next one.